they had, the mood lighting, and they had the candles and everything, and then as soon as we started playing, everybody started going like this. Moving their hands and like moving their arms and like just having this like sentimental experience, And then as soon as the music stopped, it's like back to whatever, it's like, so people are just really into some kind of surface experience, on the surface experience. And this is not where you will find real bhakti yoga. That you must end up diving deep into the ocean of spiritual knowledge. You must become very enthusiastic and very determined, like we were talking last night. And we must become real followers of those personalities that are trying to give this to us. Not that everybody can be a separate leader, that we should be willing to follow, because that is where the mercy is. Follow this specific succession. Follow one who has seen this truth and who can deliver it to you. This is the secret. So, Prabhupada reminds us that this Krishna consciousness is a great science. It's not just sentimental speculation regarding love. It's not just something that all of a sudden you just start floating around and you have little wings and you, whatever people imagine is some kind of spiritual experience. It's actually so much more natural to us than we can possibly believe, because it's right in our heart. Our heart is not necessarily just that organ in the center of our body. Heart just means the core of who you are. Right in your heart is you, your soul, and Paramatma. Krishna put you out because you wanted to go out into the spiritual world, in this material world, but he also came with you. There's Paramatma. He expanded himself in you, and he's right beside every living entity. Unbelievable. When I think of that, I think, oh my God, I can't believe I took Krishna to some of the places I went. And he didn't spank me, He didn't tell me anything. He just went with me. Oh dear. So that's the part of real spiritual science, to realize that God is all pervasive. He's the source of everything, and yet he's expanded himself into everything. This cannot be understood materialistically. Materialistically, you start with one thing. Let's just say you have this globe, and you cut it up into little pieces and you expand it out like that. The globe will be gone, right? But Krishna starts as one whole, expands himself out, and he's still whole. Can't do that in the material world, but you can in the spiritual world. That's his omnipotence and his super excellence. So this is a great science. It's based on scientific propositions described in Bhagavad Gita and in the Vedas and in Brahma Samhita, and it's accepted by all authorities like Lord Chaitanya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. By the way, today is we're honoring the disappearance date of Madhvacharya. I'm sure there's some of you from South India, even if not from South, you can have heard of Madhvacharya from North also. He went all the way up to the Himalayas. Have you heard the story about Madhvacharya? He was such a great devotee. I don't want to go too much into the history of it, but let's just pick up where he was actually fighting, like Prabhupada did, the impersonalist view of Shankaracharya. Even though Prabhupada likes to point out that Shankaracharya himself said that there is Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But most of his followers think that impersonalism, or just taking this knowledge doesn't mean that God's a person or that Krishna's a person, that there's just an energy or a oneness, and that we're all part of this oneness, and we're all actually God. This is a bogus, sentimentalist philosophy that has no foundation in the Vedas, and yet it was purposely put out there by Shankaracharya, who is actually an incarnation of Lord Shiva, if you do your homework and you can find this out. And this was also to bring people back to the Vedas, because previously, when Krishna came as Lord Buddha, and that's surprising to Buddhists, Buddha is Krishna? And yes, Buddha is also an incarnation of Krishna, but for a specific purpose. Because people at that time, they'd also become so involved with killing animals and cow and everything else, and they were just into that type of sense gratification, that Krishna came as Lord Buddha, and they said, well, we read about it in the Vedas. In the Vedas, they say there's this animal sacrifice, this sword sacrifice, this, So, if it's in the Vedas, it's okay for us. So that's why we kill animals, that's why we eat them, because it's okay in the Vedas. And so Lord Buddha said, see these Vedas? Throw them away. He said, if you've used these Vedas to justify how you're living in nonsense way right now, then okay, don't use the Vedas. That's why Lord Buddha started a whole other system, which was basically these principles of high moral character. Well, let's just at least honor these principles. And so people said, oh, okay, good, we don't have to follow the Vedas anymore, but we'll follow these high principles.